The ocean has long been considered the ultimate source of lean protein and essential fatty acids. But in 2026, the blue frontier is facing a dual crisis: industrial pollution and ecological collapse. While we are told to eat more fish for heart health, the reality is that many species have become biological sponges for heavy metals, microplastics, and synthetic chemicals. From the concentrated mercury levels in long-lived predators to the antibiotic-laden pens of industrial aquaculture, the fish on your plate may be carrying a toxic load that outweighs its nutritional benefits. To protect your neurological and cardiovascular health, you must differentiate between the scavengers of the industrial age and the rare species that still offer genuine vitality. Quick favor before we move on. If you appreciate this content, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 92% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. It's free and only takes a second, but it means the world to us. So did you subscribe already? Great. Thank you so much for your support. Now back to the video. Here is the definitive guide to the fish you must purge from your diet and the few that remain safe to consume. 1. The mercury-heavy swordfish. Swordfish is a top-tier predator that sits at the apex of the marine food chain, and this position makes it a primary carrier of methylmercury. Because swordfish are long-lived and consume vast quantities of smaller fish, they undergo a process called biomagnification, where mercury levels concentrate to dangerous proportions in their muscle tissue. Mercury is a potent neurotoxin that can cross the blood-brain barrier, leading to cognitive decline, tremors, and developmental issues. In 2026, the levels found in commercial swordfish often exceed safety guidelines for regular consumption. By eating swordfish, you are essentially consuming the cumulative pollution of the entire food chain below it. The risk of heavy metal toxicity makes this fish one of the most dangerous choices for anyone, particularly pregnant women and children whose nervous systems are highly vulnerable. 2. The farm-raised Atlantic salmon. Atlantic salmon is almost exclusively a product of industrial aquaculture, and these sea cages are far from natural environments. To prevent the spread of disease in cramped conditions, these fish are often treated with a cocktail of antibiotics and pesticides. Furthermore, because they lack their natural diet of crustaceans, their flesh is naturally gray. Manufacturers must add synthetic pigments like astaxanthin to their feed to turn them an artificial pink. Recent testing has also found high levels of PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls, in farmed salmon, which are persistent organic pollutants linked to cancer and endocrine disruption. When you eat Value Pack Atlantic salmon, you are consuming a chemically stabilized animal that lacks the beneficial omega-3 profile of its wild counterparts while carrying a significant burden of industrial waste and synthetic dyes. 3. The mysterious white tuna, escolar. Escolar, often deceptively labeled as white tuna or super white tuna in sushi restaurants, is a deep-sea fish that contains a high concentration of Gimpala toxin. This is a waxy ester that the human body cannot digest. Consuming even a small portion of escolar can lead to chyruria, a condition characterized by oily, orange discharge and severe gastrointestinal distress. Because of these violent laxative effects, escolar has been banned in several countries, yet it remains common in the US due to its buttery texture and low price point. It is a fake food in every sense, mimicking the appearance of high-quality tuna while delivering a biological payload that your digestive system is not equipped to handle. If you see white tuna on a menu at a low price, it is almost certainly a health risk in disguise. 4. The bottom-feeding imported catfish. A significant portion of the catfish sold in the U.S. is imported from Southeast Asia, specifically from the Mekong River Delta, which is one of the most polluted waterways in the world. These fish are often labeled as basa, sway, or tra. Because these bottom feeders are raised in high-density ponds with minimal regulation, they are frequently exposed to heavy metals and runoff from nearby industrial sites. Testing has repeatedly found traces of malachite green, a carcinogenic fungicide, and various banned antibiotics in these imports. These fish are scavengers by nature, but in an industrial setting, they become concentrated sources of environmental toxins. 5. The dirty king mackerel. King mackerel is another species that the FDA explicitly warns against due to its extreme mercury content. Unlike its smaller cousin, the Atlantic mackerel, the king variety grows much larger and lives longer, allowing it to accumulate significant levels of heavy metals in its fatty tissue. The mercury in king mackerel is particularly dangerous because it is bound to the protein in the fish, meaning it cannot be trimmed away like fat. Regular consumption can lead to mercury poisoning, which manifests as muscle weakness, loss of peripheral vision, and impaired speech. In the hierarchy of seafood, king mackerel is a biological red zone. While it may be marketed as a rich source of oil, the heavy metal trade-off is far too high for it to be considered a viable part of a healthy modern diet. 6. The scavenging tilefish. Tilefish, particularly those harvested from the Gulf of Mexico, have some of the highest mercury levels ever recorded in commercial seafood. These fish live in deep burrows and have a diet that leads to rapid bioaccumulation of toxins. Because of the 2010 Deepwater Horizon spill and subsequent industrial activity in the Gulf, tilefish are also at a higher risk for exposure to petroleum hydrocarbons. Despite their mild flavor, they are essentially biological sponges for the industrial waste of the Gulf Coast. The EPA has placed tilefish on the Do Not Eat list for vulnerable populations, but the reality is that their toxic profile makes them unsuitable for anyone seeking to maintain long-term neurological health. They represent the high cost of environmental degradation in our modern food supply. Ultimately, your choice of seafood is a complex intersection of industrial chemistry and ecological ethics. In 2026, we can no longer assume that all fish are created equal. The ocean has become a reflection of our industrial footprint, and our diet must reflect that reality. By staying vigilant, rejecting the mercury-laden predators, and the chemically stabilized products of industrial aquaculture, you can reclaim the true benefits of marine nutrition. Focusing on small, short-lived species like sardines and clean, wild-caught salmon allows you to nourish your brain and heart without the toxic trade-off. Reclaiming your health begins with understanding that the most expensive fish is often the most dangerous, and the simplest choices are often the most profound.